Hello and welcome to the Holistic Health and Hormones podcast. I'm your host, Eli Huang, a natural fertility practitioner, acupuncturist, and holistic fertility health coach. And through my work, I support women and couples to optimize their hormones, restore health, and prepare their bodies for conception through a blend of Eastern medicine, modern functional testing, and mind-body healing. And today's episode is a very special one. This episode is dedicated to raising awareness for endometriosis in support of the incredible work being done by the charity Endometriosis Australia. Now, endometriosis is one of the most misunderstood and underdiagnosed conditions in women's health, and yet it affects millions of women worldwide. And for women, it's not just the painful periods. The impact is affecting their daily life, their relationships, career, mental health, and fertility. And today we're going to talk about what endometriosis actually is, the common symptoms women experience, and why diagnosis often takes many, many years, and the connection between endometriosis and infertility. Now, the most important thing is what women can do to support their health, even with this diagnosis, because awareness is the first step towards change. So let's start with what is endometriosis, okay? And the basic is that endometriosis occurs when similar tissue to the lining of the uterus, called endometrial-like tissue, grows outside of the uterus. And the tissue can grow in places such as the ovaries, fallopian tubes, pelvic lining, can even grow on the bowel and bladder, and any ligaments around the uterus. And in some cases, it even appears outside of the pelvic cavity. Every month, just like the uterine lining, this tissue responds to hormonal signals and inflammation, which can lead to swelling, irritation, scarring, and adhesions, because the blood and inflammatory response has literally nowhere to go. And it can cause major, significant pain and inflammation in the pelvis, generally for even up to days. And even when you're having a bowel motion, all that inflammation and the lesions is basically causing a response and pain anytime you need to move your bowels, and even especially when you have your period cycle. So over time, this can lead to significant scar tissue, organs sticking together, a lot of cysts on the ovaries, which are called endometriomas. And this is why women experience this intense chronic pelvic pain. And it's not just during the periods, but sometimes it's throughout the entire cycle. So they may even get it mid-cycle. And like I said, generally, also if it's severe and around the bowels, every time they go and have a bowel motion. And sometimes it may even be silent. We've had clients who have actually found out they've had stage 4 endometriosis and they've had no symptoms, right? There may be a bit of barley belly, a bit of endometriosis belly, which we'll talk about. And we will uncover that basically for many women who have suffering from the pain, that this level of pain is normal. But let me say this clearly. Debilitating, saying where you are kneeled over in pain, you cannot go to work, you cannot function, you are in bed for literally 2 days or more. This sort of debilitating pain where you cannot function is not normal, although it is very common. Pain that stops you from going to work, to go to school if you're a teenager or university, to exercise normally, or to just live the life that you know is normal and functioning, deserves serious and thorough investigation. So how common is endometriosis? It is actually far more common than people realize. And for many that are undiagnosed, it is even more common in the undiagnosed categories. So according to data supported by Endometriosis Australia, 1 in 9 Australian women are affected by endometriosis by the time they are 44 years of age. And this represents hundreds of thousands of women in Australia alone. Globally, it is affected, perhaps estimated to affect over 190 to around 200 million women. And despite this, the average delay for diagnosis is around 6 to 8 years. So just think about that. It's absolutely shocking. Many women spend almost a decade searching for answers. They will be told generally from some, I hate to put you into stereotypes, but some of the male physicians that, right, it's just period pain, it's all normal, right, take a painkiller, or it's in your head. I've heard clients say that their doctors have said to them, and they've been told that they may be exaggerating. It's all due to stress, or they're simply just given contraceptive or other pills or painkillers to just suppress the symptoms. So while hormonal treatments can sometimes help symptoms, they do not necessarily address the underlying inflammatory environment, which is continuously driving the condition. And this is why over several years, it may worsen from very mild, or what we call stage 1 endometriosis diagnosis, to actually discovering they have stage 4 endometriosis. So some of the common symptoms with endometriosis can present differently for every woman, but the most common symptoms include severe period pain. This is where it's debilitating or extremely severe, that they find it hard to get through the day without taking something for the pain. They will have pain during ovulation. There could be pain during intercourse, chronic pelvic pain around the whole gynecological regions, and back pain. And there is even pain with bowel motion. There could be digestive pain as well, and symptoms such as bloating or IBS type symptoms. This could include even fatigue and brain fog, and generally very heavy or irregular bleeding. There could be some spotting during certain times of the month, or really long irregular bleeding. And in some cases, you have been having difficulty conceiving. It could be already several years, and you've done some other blood work and nothing else is coming up. So one thing to note is that pain severity doesn't always correlate with disease severity. So like I said, I've had significant clients, a number of clients that have had no significant pain at all, silent symptoms, right? And some women with significant lesions may have very minimal symptoms at all. So other than those with mild disease and others could have very little endometriosis, very mild, but experience severe pain. So that's why listening to women and believing their symptoms is extremely important. And so I'm raising this awareness that hopefully, you yourself can be an advocate if you have these symptoms, to really push for the answers, get some more diagnosis, look at other doctors, any other physicians that may be able to support and help you, right? Because pain, we should not be going through that sort of pain. Now, endometriosis and infertility, right? So one of the most significant areas where endometriosis can impact a woman's life is when you're trying to conceive. And so it is estimated that between 30 to 50% of women with endometriosis experience difficulty conceiving, especially if it's stage 3 or 4, quite severe cases. And there are several ways why this may affect fertility. The first is that there is inflammation, all right? And we know inflammation doesn't help with fertility. It creates a lot of hormonal disruptions, and it doesn't make it the ideal environment for conception to happen. And because endometriosis creates an inflammatory environment within the pelvis, this severe inflammation can impact the quality of your eggs. It can affect the way the sperm is functioning inside the uterus. It can impact fertilization and also embryo implantation. Second is that all the adhesions and scar tissue, which is forming, can distort a lot of that pelvic anatomy. So for many, fallopian tubes may become blocked, right? They're full of lesions or unable to pick up the egg effectively. And thirdly is that environmental and ovarian impact, where endometriomas, right, the cysts caused by the endometriosis, can affect ovarian reserve, decrease ovarian reserve, and produce low quality eggs. Number 4 is that the immune system could become dysfunctional. So many women with endometriosis have immune system dysregulation, which may affect implantation or embryo development. And number 5 is hormonal imbalance. So endometriosis is often associated with estrogen dominance. So the estrogen is in excess and there's too much. The body cannot excrete or clear the estrogen as much. And there is progesterone resistance. Okay, so not as much progesterone being released. And this can affect a lot of the endometrial environment, which is highly important and needed for optimal functioning and balance for pregnancy. And this doesn't mean that women with endometriosis cannot get pregnant. Many absolutely do, but it often means that when we optimize the environment of the body, it becomes even more important. And so why awareness is so important? Because one of the biggest challenges women with endometriosis face is not being believed. And I hear many women over the years who've heard things like the period pain is normal, right? You just take painkillers. We can just go on the pill. But when we normalize severe pain, we delay diagnosis and treatment. And so this is why raising awareness, even now, helps encourage earlier diagnosis. It helps to validate that the woman's experience is valid and it's not in their heads. And this also helps us to improve research funding and promote better treatment options for those that don't get treatment options, especially those in rural areas of Australia or just not being able to get the medical care that they need. So organizations like Endometriosis Australia are doing incredible work to support women, advocate for more research in this area, and increase education around this condition. And this is very passionate to me because as women's health practitioner and to help women with fertility, it is important that we look at these diagnoses as early as our teenage years, as early as our 20s, and not finding out about endometriosis when we're trying to conceive, or even years after we've started the conception process. So the more we talk about it, the more we can help women realize that they are not alone and that there is help. And if you are feeling alone or the doctors are not hearing you, I urge you to keep looking for a different physician. So how can we support our body holistically? So while medical management and surgery, which is often an answer for severe endometrial surgeries and can be necessary, many women also benefit from just a holistic approach to understanding where the symptoms have come from and to support their health. So in my work supporting women on their fertility and hormonal health and journey, we need to focus on several key areas. Number one is, I think, supporting an anti-inflammatory lifestyle where we are reducing processed foods. There is excessive sugar consumption and a lot of the inflammatory triggers that, while increasing whole foods, healthy fats, and nutrient-dense meals, all significantly help benefit as well as helping to balance hormones. So supporting progesterone pathways is another way to improving the body's ability to metabolize estrogen. So I would suggest getting blood tests done, checking with your doctor what your progesterone is doing, looking at certain functional testing to make sure you are optimizing your progesterone pathways and improving your body's ability to metabolize and detox estrogen. Another thing is to support your gut health. So there is a very strong connection between your gut microbiome and hormonal balance. So supporting this detoxification pathway is extremely important, as well as supporting your gut microbiome and hormone balance. And we know that the liver plays such a key role in metabolizing hormones and inflammatory compounds. So it's important that we are looking at what we can do to support our gut health and to improve the inflammation, because we know all of your hormones are produced in the gut. And then stress regulation. So chronic stress impacts hormones, inflammation, and immune function. So we need to make sure we are managing stress. We are managing basically all of the things that may be contributing to stress, because when we stress, our endocrine system goes out of whack. We may be eating a poorer diet, right? And of course, I'm a fan of therapies such as acupuncture. It's been shown in research to help support pain management and improve circulation and blood flow within the pelvis and the uterine area. And it's rarely just one thing, right? Healing is often about addressing the whole system of the body. So if you are someone listening today who has endometriosis or suspects that you might, then please know this, that you are not alone. Your pain is definitely valid. and support is widely available. And there's definitely more work and more knowledge around this area, which there wasn't as much sort of several decades ago. And many women with endometriosis go on to definitely conceive naturally. They can improve their symptoms significantly and restore their quality of life. But it often begins with education, advocacy, and the right support team. So I hope that that was very helpful and you were able to learn a bit more about endometriosis. Stay tuned for a more comprehensive episode in our next podcast, and we will talk about even in more depth with an amazing naturopath about endometriosis and how that affects conception in a lot more detail. But if this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to learn more about the incredible work being done by Endometriosis Australia and how you can support their awareness and research. And if you or someone you know struggles with painful periods, unexplained infertility, or pelvic pain, please share this episode with them. Sometimes a simple conversation can help someone finally find the answers that they've been searching for. So thank you for being here with me today. And until next time, remember, your hormones matter, your health matters, and your body always has a story, and it is worth listening to it. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for tuning in.